All right, now we're going to move on to the should ask questions. Now that we've covered how to create a frequently asked question, how to extract the keywords from the frequently asked question and put them in the hand extraction column. And we've also learned how to rephrase the question using Kraken synonym set or any other keywords or tools that will allow you to say the same question in a different way. We've also mentioned that available to you is the Kora course from Kora.com's basic question extraction system. We have actually created a tool called Kora Extractor, which goes into Kora and extracts questions by the hundreds or thousands even, and allows you to extract keywords from them. And this was one of the many ways that you can create frequently asked questions. Now we're going to get into the should ask questions, and this is where some students tend to get confused. How do you transition from a frequently asked question that already exists on the market to one that might be less common on the marketplace, and use that as a driver for your company? I've already explained that keyword research was a very common question. What is keyword research and what is a good keyword research tool? These were very common questions when the ThemeZoom company launched in 2005. And we positioned ourselves in the marketplace as a vertical keyword research tool. We knew already that somebody needed to address the issue that was happening, that keyword research was being confused with market research. We knew that because a lot of our students kept asking that question, and I had a background in market research as well as SEO, and that wasn't that common at the time. So that's just really the company story of how we developed. But in so having two areas of knowledge, it became obvious to me that there was a problem, there was a dilemma, there was a question, a conflict, or a pain in the marketplace, and thus my company was born. So what I ended up doing, and you should do this too, is I wrote in here as a reminder, keyword research only shows a small part or piece of the picture of your online market. I could be more specific with that. You need to understand how the keyword fits into your market and what percentage of the total dollar value of the market they contain, an individual keyword contains, to select effective keywords for your marketing campaign. Now notice what I've done is I put this in a column that we've given you in the template called Summary of Reasons and Confusions and Needs Behind the Should Ask Question. Remember, whole purpose is to go from what is keyword research to the should ask question, okay, of what is market analysis. Okay, and it doesn't mean that you throw away all the frequently asked questions. You might even create copy or an article or a Storify story or a video or audio that answers questions that are already being asked, but then shows off your expertise with questions that people really should be asking. Keyword research is great, but that's one way I teach people how to phrase make the transition from the frequently asked question to the should ask question. So always using the scientific method to come up with a better question. And then all we've done is said the same question, phrase the same question in a different way using a different keyword so that we're sure to cover an article or a title or a meta tag that also has that as a question, transitioning them also into your unique position. This is what we call Kora inception. And again, you're going to want to look at the Kora course because I get into a lot of the methods used, a lot of the inception techniques, which is really what frequently asked question to should ask questions is really about. It's a subtle inception based on consultative expertise that provides people with unanticipated solutions to problems that they would pay to solve. And really, all quid pro quo is about unanticipated solutions for a pain or a problem that's costing somebody time and money. Okay, and it was the same with my company. So really what we knew is that we had to answer the frequently asked questions. What is keyword research? How do I perform keyword research? What is a good keyword research tool? And say that same question answer that question in a bunch of different ways and phrase that question in a bunch of different ways on a bunch of different web pages, and then provide a better question because the better question becomes the filler for your content. It becomes the explanation. It becomes the doctor. It becomes the painkiller by explaining people how to ask a better question. And by positioning yourself as within a better question, you're able to answer their already pending questions, but create other open loops in their mind that are going to drive them to you as the only viable solution because you were smart enough to ask the correct questions. It's not rocket science, but it's not that easy to do the first time. So, for example, some of the FAQs might have a very similar transition. What is a good keyword research tool? Okay, there is all kinds of ways I could position that into a should ask question. What is a good keyword research and vertical market analysis tool? Or if you've already answered the question, what is keyword research? What is market research? Another question that I don't have here. Here's a should ask question. This is a much more comprehensive one. Let me write this for you now. What is the difference between keyword research and market research? Okay, that's a really great way of phrasing the question with both keywords in it. And that's completely acceptable, by the way. You can include one keyword that was the often frequently asked questions that are in the market and combine that with a question that is maybe from a different segment, and those two things can be positioned together and overlap, and they can drive your brand or your company. Okay? And you can do that with a lot of different things. So, for example, what is a good keyword research tool? You could also say a better question, which is, what is a good keyword research tool that considers market research, that takes into account market research? That would be a way to use both questions. Now, you got to be careful. You don't want to overly position your product or service. You don't want to create rhetorical questions that are obviously phrased only to position your product. If it's too obvious, it's not perfect. It's not that you can't do that. It's that you don't want it to be too obvious. Okay. Another way to do that would be what is a good keyword research tool? Here's another one that we did around that time is what defines a good keyword research tool? And here was the one that really was very, very helpful for us. I'm going to go ahead and do that here. Is which keyword research tools have accurate data? That was a very, very common theme when we started, which people were trying to figure out which tools were correct and which tools were not correct. And the fact is that they're all wrong for the most part, and they're all different degrees of lies, because there is no such thing as a real world online real-time keyword tool. But this got huge amounts of traffic. So the transition, the question was, what is a good keyword research tool? And then what we did is we transitioned to the should ask question by defining the definition of good. What do you mean good? Do you mean accurate? So we just refined that accurate data, and that allowed us to create a whole nother problem, summary of reasons. Okay, and that summary of reasons would go right here. And what I would type would be, many people want to know what signifies a good research tool, but they aren't defining what good means. Most people, when they say good, they mean accurate, or they might mean pulling back more keywords or more profitable keywords. And for us, a good keyword tool is one that pulls back a whole pile of keywords and gives you the total value of all those keywords using, that's when you can start positioning your own product. Okay, and that's why we built ThemeZoom. You don't lead with a sales pitch. You lead with why you defined your industry and what your expert team considers to be good. And that was a summary of the needs. The summary of the needs would be, not like you're talking to your audience, but most people don't understand the difference between fresh squeezed keyword data and keywords that have been sitting in a database for months and are never updated. Or people have confused and mixed feelings about about the different standards that keyword research tools use. This is why we need to ask a better question. So that's what you would do. Hopefully that makes sense to you. There's all kinds of ways to do this. There's no set way, but we've given you two very, very good examples on keyword research as one of my many, many examples through the years. It's easier if you're creating great products, because most people who develop great products already have the reason why they're doing it better. And in some ways, you can consider that first. If you want, you can walk backwards. Maybe you created the ultimate underwater hammer. Okay, you can walk backward from underwater hammer to hammer if you want, knowing why you created it. You're going to already have your summary of reasons. You know, if you're an inventor, for example, or you've created a product, you're already going to know that whatever that summary of reasons would be, you can just put that in right here. It might say something like, divers struggle to be able to hammer bolts into the bottom of boats while at sea. Regular hammers don't work. They're too hard to push underwater. You can't get enough momentum when you're taking a swing to hammer the nail in the bottom of the boat. Okay, therefore we need to answer more questions. Not what is the best way to hammer a nail into the boat from under the water. Does might be, what reason would you have for hammering a nail underwater, or what's the safest way to hammer a nail underwater, or what's the the most innovative way. The point is that you have to find the conflict. I'm making up a completely ridiculous case here, but if you've already invented somebody, that invention probably came from a need, because necessity is the mother of invention. So talk about that. Why is you can walk backwards from the innovation and into the frequently asked question. The frequently asked question might be, why do I need to use a hammer? Why do I need to hammer? What's the best way to hammer under the water on the bottom of the boat? And you can answer that with all kinds of reasons. So you can walk backwards from the innovation. You can walk forwards. You can go from the FAQ to the SAQ. You can go from the SAQ to the FAQ. And it all depends on where you're in the market. If you're a product creator, product creators walk backwards from the things they've invented all the time. Now, I wouldn't wait to do this to create a product. That's why I show people, I use the joke of the hammer and the pneumatic hammer and the underwater hammer, because there actually was a product created by craftsmen. And you can see this in the video that I showed you on the slideshow on ISDNA. It's the hammer that was a pneumatic hammer that didn't really work because it didn't store enough power and energy and didn't have enough torque. It only had like 3 or 4 hits. I mean, what good is it? A regular hammer works better. That person who built that and designed that product didn't ask themselves enough questions, enough should-ask questions before they went to the prototype, before they built it. So a lot of companies can prevent major multi-million-dollar fiascos like that by asking the right question, determining if the market needs it, determining what the pains are in the market around the frequently asked questions before they even go into manufacturing. Obviously, they would find that there's probably not a huge demand for underwater hammers in the same way that craftsmen discovered that there wasn't a huge demand for a pneumatic hammer that doesn't have any torque. Okay, sometimes a regular hammer is just good enough. So if you find yourself coming up empty in this summary of reasons and confusions and needs behind the new question, if you really have a hard time with that, with this summary of reasons, you might be dealing with a product that's either a commodity, meaning, sugar, eggs, these kinds of things. It really depends. That might be hard to reposition, or is not really a product that you want to sell. So hopefully this makes a lot of sense. Spend some time with it. If you have more questions, continue through the course. And many of the things that you discover in this process are going to help you with branding, positioning, vertical marketing, and a variety of other steps that is going to help you in the perpetual lead magnet machine throughout the stackable system. Look forward to talking to you more and seeing you on the inside. This is part 2 of the ISDNA Matrix Creation System.